For more on this story, we can bring in Sara Prestianni, who joins us from Brussels. Thank you very much for joining us here on France 24 today. Can I ask you, what happens to these migrants once they're processed?
Once that migrant arrival in Lampedusa, they will be transferred in a different reception center in Italy. The main problem is in the last year, Salvini government and then Meloni government have been dismantled the reception system in Italy that previously was quite very good. That's also one of the reasons for why some of them try to reach other European countries. I think in this day that we are discussing a lot of solutions, but right now the solution proposed are the part of the problem.
So the solutions proposed are part of the problem. How long before someone who arrives is able to work?
It depends on the procedure in which they enter, whether they are asylum seeker or they are claiming for a protection, or they just try to reach another country. So that's really depends. And the problem is most of the time they try to escape Italy because the situation are not very well. I'm back on the point of the problem and solution. What we're listening all the time is that a solution is a deal with Tunisia and Libya. But Italy and the European Union have a deal with Tunisia and Libya, and that's exactly from Tunisia and Libya that migrants are escaping. Tunisians are escaping the democratic crackdown in Tunisia. Sub-Saharan Africa are escaping the violence in Tunisia and in Libya. So the solution could not be to sign another agreement with Tunisia and Libya, but the solution must be seen in the European Union, changing policy, putting in place harmonization in reception and integration. In this way, that would be the only solution that migrants can stay in Europe and have a proper reception system.
Sarah, is the problem also that the European authorities are trying to sort of put a Band-Aid on a gushing wound by giving money to places like Turkey, to places like Tunisia, to sort of temporarily fix the problem without going after the root causes? Is that a problem at the European level?
That's the key point. What we have seen in the last year is to just giving money, millions of euro to not democratic countries, to fragile democracy, and that's leading on what we call the blackmail approach. The two sides of the Mediterranean shore are instrumentalized migration, and the main problem is the result of this instrumentalization is the number of deaths. I want to remind that 2,400 have the migrant women, men, and children lost their life. That could not be a solution, and that will be keeping the problem again and again, as we have seen also in other borders in Turkey and Libya in the past year, and now is the time of Tunisia. There are blackmail in some way using migrants to Europe.
But Sarah, because the European Union has gone to these countries of origin and tried to fix the economy in those countries so that to reduce the flows coming into Europe, that's a solution that doesn't seem to have worked. Was Europe's approach wrong?
It's not only a matter of development, it's not only a matter of economy, it's also a matter of democracy. I come back to the example of Tunisia. Tunisia is living right now a democratic crackdown, and in some way signing a deal as done back in July from the European Union perspective to Tunisia is to legitimize this authoritarian regime.
Totally, but that we know Europe has sort of double standards sometimes when it conveniences them.
Yeah, so what that means is not only a matter. So in some way, European policy are increasing the reason of the part to legitimize.
But don't you think Europe is learning that the hard way? Because just the other day, we had a European delegation that was not allowed to fly to Tunis to conduct a fact-finding mission.
No, because that was a delegation of the European Parliament, was the AFET commission in the Parliament, and the European Commission announced they will continue to deal with Tunisia in the framework of the Memorandum of Understanding. So it seems to me that don't have understand that the solution is to try to bring democracy and support civil society organization in Tunisia, and not only support the President Kais Saied that have been give all the sign to repress both local population and sub-Saharan Africa.
Sarah, in comments made just a short while ago, we had the French President Emmanuel Macron discussing the situation in Lampedusa, and he said that there needs to be some sort of European solidarity, and there will be decisions taken with Italy. Is that all just bluster on the part of the French president? Because in reality, nothing really gets done at the European level.
That's the discussion under the EU Pact on Migration that is under trilogue right now in Brussels. But also this pact is in the opposite direction of solidarity. So the problem is that in the Council, so all member states are going in the opposite direction of solidarity, each one looking at their main interest. And that's why we always keep repeating that we have to change the position in the discussion around the pact. And this number, for example, the number of 120,000 migrants landed in Italy could be very well managed in the number of all member states. The problem is it's only one country, but the discussion around the pact are not going in this direction. I'm really sorry. So that's why we are keeping.
But why do you think that is, Sarah? Because we have had numerous reports saying how Europe needs migrants, especially for certain sectors within the labor force, yet migrants constantly get politicized, get vilified by politicians within the European Union. Has Europe's messaging been off?
The real problem is also that in member states, the migration file, the asylum file, is clearly politically instrumentalized in electoral context or in political context. And that's a problem because they don't manage migration in a concrete way. That's why civil society organizations, our members on the ground, they try to provide recommendations, to try to provide solutions that are often the opposite on what are proposed by government, but going also in a concrete solution for a good integration between local population, host community, and migrant and refugee. That's the main aim of these efforts from the civil society organization. But often government go in their own interest. And that's have a negative impact on migrant refugee rights, but also on the local population and in foreign policy, as we have seen with the deal with Libya, Turkey, and Tunisia.
Sara Prestianni, we're going to have to leave it there. Advocacy Director at Euromed Rights. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you to you.